The Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to another edition of the Dogger Pass podcast. This for UFC 252, Miocic versus Cormier 3. I'm Paul Shaughnessy. Pat Mayo behind the sticks this week.
Hi.
Hey to Pat. And Cody Saftic here in studio. How was your weekend, Cody? What'd you get up to?
Yeah, obviously a really good weekend. Picks were very well. And then outside of that, still summertime weather. So very happy with that, Paul. I'll take it for as long as I can. And yeah, now we got another pay-per-view offering. Not the greatest pay-per-view, but yeah, some good spots, I think, and looking forward to getting to it. Whoa, what the hell happened here?
I had to dress up for greatness here. Cody going 11 of 12, almost hit the PRP. I don't know if you can hear me on that. People on the comment section were saying for me to drink a shoey. You didn't even take that bet. That's like one of the only bets you lost. Stolia Stinko and
Stolia Stinko
and her were the only. And Lewis.
Am I gonna get Grace with the shoey
with
here?
Me was. I mean, I probably should.
Oh, I didn't even know about this.
And we're not drinking Pilsners because it's a celebration, bitches. I got some Perrier water here. Guys, settle down. It's Perrier water. It's nothing else than that. Oh, interesting top to this.
I'm having some French champagne.
Got that. But
Sparkling water, unless it's from Champagne, France, dude.
Please don't break the lights. A king like you. Parlay King.
Wow, you're being
can't
far
be drinking
too nice.
out of anything like that.
Wow, where'd you get these bad boys?
I mean, we made the
Jesus.
bet. We made the bet. These are supposed to be for punishment, right?
Yeah.
Do I have to drink out of this? You made me so much money this weekend. If I get any infectious diseases.
All right, get it. You know, the alcohol actually sanitizes it, so you should be in a pretty good spot. Now I'm pumped up for this card.
We're aiming up.
Woo!
My eye!
Oh, just get at it. Just get after it.
Oh, God.
I'll have a little swiggy of that myself.
There you go.
Oh, let me get a little swiggy of that.
All right, let's go.
Paul Shaughnessy. You know what? And I pussied out of the bet, too. So that's pretty impressive of you.
You want me like 6K this weekend?
Oh, yeah. No, it was a
I'll
very good
gladly
weekend.
let you have that.
Well,
I did spill Perrier water all over myself. That's unfortunate.
Yes, of course. That's a nice Perrier water.
Can I
too.
Permission to drink out of this for the remainder?
Yeah,
of
no,
the
hey,
episode?
yeah, of course.
Pat,
but
would you like a cup?
I'm good.
Okay, we went right off the rails, right off the top here, boys.
yeah, no,
Hopefully
definitely.
we'll get into some picks.
I will. It's funny because we're talking about Cormier, who's making a bid for GOAT status himself, so I guess the mask is fitting. I want to address that. I know some people say that in the comment section, and it's a good term. Oh, the greatest of all time. People will say that we hit some parlays, we make some money. People always
Cody,
say GOAT.
you are the
Just
GOAT.
no. Just no. I don't want to be the GOAT. I don't want to be considered the GOAT. Because that's just how I was raised, man. My dad got to where he was from never being the best. He was one of the best. He hung with the best, but he was never the best. Don't get to the top of the mountain, because then the pressure just buckles you over. I don't want people thinking, oh, this guy's the greatest. There's a lot of great guys. Talk to a lot of people. Spread your information. Do your own research. Ultimately, if you think I'm good, that's great. Consider me one of the good guys that are given free tout service. Tout, what the fuck am I talking about? Free service in general. But yeah, I don't know. I feel I'm not one of these guys to goat and be like, oh yeah, gloat, I should say. Gloat about being a goat. So I do appreciate it, though.
Almost Conor McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez. This is like, it's still got the tag on it.
You know what? You actually almost Cody McKenzie'd it. Remember when he fought Sam Stout and he had like basketball shorts on? There was still a tag. Herb Dean had to rip the tag off. I always wonder where those shorts go. I'd love to add it to my
there's
collection.
a lot of other good touts. There's only one goat, and it's Cody Saftic. So yeah, there's people who are like, oh, you clearly know more than your co-host about things. It's just like, yeah, guys. When in doubt, if we're disagreeing, like Cody's track record, history in this, I've seen your tickets over the years. Cody's really good. Listen to Cody. I think I wrote to somebody last week. It's like, when in doubt, listen to Cody. I try. I'm pretty informed, but
no, man. I prefer the whole win in silence thing, but I want to address that as well. I know, but people will mention some shit in the comment sections. They'll be like, "Oh, what the fuck, Paul should shut up." Like, two things you got to realize. First of all, there would be no show without you being here. I would probably be getting high in my basement right now, watching Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and tape studying a little bit. We do the show together. We started the show together 6 years ago, April 2014, still doing it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be giving out free advice, hanging out with you and Pat doing the show. So you're obviously an integral part of the show. Second of all, is disrespecting you is disrespecting me. So, like, please, I love when people interact and make comments, but like, say something about the fight, you know?
Man,
or take a shot at me. But
think about how
there's
fat, when we first started doing this, think about how fat I was. Like,
think about when we were the new kids on the block.
It's almost impossible to
on
completely
Fight
get under my skin. At least if you're
awful.
somebody on Twitter or YouTube and I've never met you, I never will meet you ever in my life. Like, why would I let you affect me? It doesn't really happen all that often. 99.9% of people are all positive. But yeah, no. You can try to troll me. It's not gonna bother me. Anyway, why don't we talk about fights?
Let's do it, man.
We have the trilogy fight between Daniel Cormier and Stipe Miocic. Daniel Cormier, it's basically a pick 'em here. Cormier, I see -115. Stipe -105. Cody Saftic, take it away.
Yeah, so far you've seen, just under 5 rounds of action. And Daniel Cormier, for the most part, has controlled all that action. First fight, doesn't even last a round, but obviously he wins it. Second fight, he wins the first round. He wins the second round. He wins the third round. Rewatching it back, he's noticeably fatigued after the first round. And the first round is the only round he really tries to wrestle. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the narrative of him going into this fight, and he's talking about himself, is small cage, baby. I'll take this guy down all day. Wrestling is very tiresome. Trying to wrestle a guy for 5 rounds is very tiresome. And I think when you're 41-year-old Daniel Cormier, I don't know. That's probably the game plan to win this fight. Mix up the striking with the wrestling. But at 41, I just don't know. The 2 highest profile losses of his career, John Jones rematch, where, geez, man, he starts out really good the first 2 rounds, and then he fatigues. He gets tired. He's an older man. He's fighting young buck John Jones, who turns out to be on steroids, and he gets TKO'd in the 3rd round. Fight with Stipe, again, he noticeably looks fatigued after the first round, but this guy is as world-class and as top-notch as it gets. Daniel Cormier will fight through anything. So he goes the 2nd round, and he goes the 3rd round, and wins the 2nd round and the 3rd round. Just fighting a terrible game plan, just slinging with Stipe. But man, by the 4th round, again, he's too far chewed up. And coming into this fight, I think he's the superior fighter. But at 41 years old, he's starting to regress. I don't know that he can go 5. He needs to knock out Stipe quick. First fight, he knocks him out in the 1st round. Second fight, he almost knocks him out in the 1st round. If you remember the 1st round of the rematch, he's just clobbering him with hammer fists. It's a good finish. 2nd round, has a good 2nd round. 3rd round, still outstrike, still landing the big shots. But when he wasn't able to put him away, that's when Stipe comes back in. So, again, this is going to be a good spot for live betting because Cormier might once again go up a round or 2. Mm-hmm. And you're going to be betting Stipe at plus money instead of even money. And hope that he's going to come back and get that 4th or 5th round stoppage. Another angle here is that Stipe never threw any body punches the first 3 rounds. That was only a game plan he went to in the 4th, and it was obviously super effective. It was effective, especially because Cormier was already tired by then. But consider the way Cormier fought the first 2 rounds. He just leaves both of his arms out extended, tries to wrist control you, and then punch over the top. His body's always open. It's that Stipe took a couple rounds to make that adjustment. He goes out right from the get-go. Go out there from the get-go and start working his body right off the start. Then he's going to tire even faster. Mm-hmm. When he tires even faster, that's the time to take him out. And one last point I want to make on this one is that with Daniel Cormier, he's always trained at a world-class level. At 41, even though he's had back problems and he's had a couple knee issues, I feel like he's going to do his best to train at an elite level. But think about AKA and the dynamic of AKA. You've got the real GOAT, Khabib Nurmagomedov, who's just like a team captain, and he's so joyous, and there's so much energy. And he's got 6 badass motherfucking Russians with him from the Caucasus, from the whatever, Dagestan, Chechnya.
Places you can't even pronounce.
Guys. Sure, yeah, exactly. Ingushetia. These guys are Jordan. All these people are badass. I mean,
that's kind of a different region.
Sorry, not Jordan, Georgia.
Yes.
What I'm saying is that those guys are all part of the team. So now he's gone. He doesn't want to train for his own title fight in the U.S. because of his fear for COVID. His father obviously sadly passed away. A lot of the teammates have pulled out of their respective fights. None of those guys are in the gym. Mm-hmm. Cormier's gone on record saying that, he's got a 3rd child on the way. And does he have a mother that's older or something? Regardless, he's been pretty vocal about, got to be careful, and you're training at AKA, and we're keeping it a small knit group. So to think he's going to be at his absolute optimal physically, I don't know. Mentally, sure. Guy's a career winner. All he's ever done his entire life is win. And he's going out one last hurrah. But you and I have been doing the show for 6 years, Paul. Yeah. And how many times over the course of the 6 years has somebody who's gone on record and saying retiring after the fight gone on to win said retirement fight? Not very often. So he's
pretty much never. I'm thinking
hardly.
like Mark Munoz, like got absolutely. Did he win? No,
he won one. I forget because he tried to come
he
back.
got deaded.
Yeah,
I mean, these guys retire, then they unretire.
Yeah, but especially at 41 with a third child on the way, like think about the dynamic of having a small child at 41 when you are a prize fighter who's competed your entire life. And the last fight against Stipe, he got fucked up, man. Not only was he cooked to the body, but it's the head strikes that eventually knock him out. He's stiff. Now you hear him on interviews. I don't want to say he sounds punchy. He just sounds tired. He just doesn't sound like he's got the energy.
He's a guy who does a lot of broadcasting. He's a busy guy.
He's
He's got a
busy
lot of
guy.
other things on
And
the
he's got
go. He's
two
got
other
that other
kids.
show, like Detail or whatever
course.
that they do as well. He's already got his second job lined up. That's why he's able to retire. He wanted to retire fights ago, and Dana White usually doesn't do this. He said no. Like, he tried to tell him not to retire. Why? Because he's like, I think he could still win some fights. Like he's still, and this was like a year and a half ago maybe. I'm glad that you said Stipe. That was one of the bets I've already made. It was a small bet because I obviously like to cross-reference with you to see where your head is at. But yeah, Stipe Miocic, I think we just see exactly kind of the same thing. Yeah, DC can win some early rounds, but Miocic will take over late.
Yeah, right. So just to play psychologist quick, we'll move on because obviously we're talking a long time about this fight. But just to play psychologist quick, think about Daniel Cormier, right? One of the most decorated wrestlers in U.S. history. He comes over to the UFC. He's a Strikeforce champion, heavyweight champion. He's a UFC light heavyweight champion. He has a great legacy. He defeats Stipe Miocic. And now he's the heavyweight champ, former light heavyweight champ, 2-division champ. All this great legacies there. That's how he wanted to end the legacy. That's a great legacy. Now he doesn't want to fight Stipe the second time. He's on record many times saying, don't want to fight Stipe, want to fight Brock Lesnar. Talk about an even better way to cap off your career. Already beat Stipe, don't got to worry about him no more because he's a tough son of a bitch. I'll fight Brock, and then I'll sail into the sunset. So when the fight doesn't materialize, now he's backed into the Stipe rematch. It's like, fuck it, I'll do this one more time just to show everybody. And you lose that fight. Now, he's such a proud man. He's such a career winner. He's not going to retire on a loss. So he's got to come back for one more. And his options are John Jones or Stipe Miocic. I'd probably want to fight Stipe as well, right? At least I've beaten him once and had a hell of a fight with him the second time. Whereas Jones has just got his number. It is what it is. And at this point, 41, doesn't want to go back to 205. Let's be real.
No, he's not cutting that way.
No, it's done. So I don't know that this is the best fight for him and that he's at the best stage of his career. I feel like this is a fight that he had no other option. And if I win this, I'm the greatest of all time. And if I lose this, I'm one of the greatest all time. And that's good enough for him. He'll do his damnedest to win. I think he probably wins the early rounds. But in a 5-round fight, if Stipe's in good shape and can still do the same thing last time, carry it, fights a little bit of a better game plan himself. Fuck, he was hittable in that the second fight, sorry. Again, then I would say Stipe. So right now it's even money. I would say Stipe's my pick. $8,000 on DK. We'll get to that later. And I think live bet is a good option. I think DC doesn't lose early rounds.
Then
He's tough as a son of a bitch.
I mean, if he gets knocked out in the first round, like
Then
he
you're
did
not
the
gonna
first
worry about
time, then you didn't lose any of your investment.
Of course. You get a better read on it. And again, if Daniel Cormier is dominating him, at least you know in your back pocket, you're going to get a good price. And he was half dominated the first time. Not fully dominated, but he's capable of making that comeback if he's got some gas in the tank, right?
The only thing I will add on to that before we move on is that looking at creeping, I like creeping on the fighters' Instagrams and whatnot. Stipe is looking lean and mean, looking like he's going to use that speed. Yeah. I would be interested to see how he weighs.
Doesn't, by the way.
I'm interested to see how he weighs in because usually it's around like 240 or so. I wouldn't be surprised if he's like 235, even a couple pounds lower. He looks like I see more veins. I see a guy whose mentality is I'm way faster than this guy. All I have to do is just stay out of danger. I guess that helps Cormier a little bit in the wrestling, but if Cormier is not able to wrestle for 5 rounds, then what good is it anyway?
You know, something we talked about last week was Derek Lewis. And it was like, oh, man, what kind of shape is he going to come in because it's quarantine camp? It's like, he kind of always trains quarantine camp. He doesn't have a ton of sparring partners. He works with a small-knit group of guys. If anything, he's going to be same as he's always been. And he came in really good shape. It was like spending that time to himself allowed him to get in shape. Stipe is the same thing because he's a part-time firefighter, because he has a job when he's not preparing for
Probably
fights.
so busy that usually he's not able to put in that extra time like at the gym to actually make his body.
Yeah, and he's
better.
a local celebrity in
Like
Ohio.
he's putting in
he's
the
got
gym,
a family.
training, sparring, but not lifting weights or the other,
You know what? You see
to
the
the same
sparring.
degree.
You see the sparring footage with him, and he's working with middleweights, light heavyweights. Like he doesn't work with a ton of big guys. Whereas Cormier is always just grinding with the best guys. And I think on the countdown show they mentioned like Cain Velasquez is back, and it's like they don't show 1 second of Cain training. It's just him at a barbecue and him in the gym. Although he seemed in good shape, to be honest.
Anyway.
Considerably what Cain gets up to when he's not in shape. I guess that WWE run kept him in. Anyways, let's get on from that. But yeah, the pick's going to be Stipe, and have a look at the live bet on that.
Sugar Sean O'Malley takes on Marlon Chito Vera. O'Malley minus 325 favorite. Vera can be had for plus 265. What are you thinking here?
Okay, so O'Malley is benefiting from the hype train. And the hype train can be a bad thing. Usually it is for prices, unless you're looking to fade a guy. But do I think he's the favorite in this fight? Yes. I'd like his skill set. I think he's developing. I'd like to see what he's got to offer. But Chito Vera is no rollover, and that is a rollover price. Plus 265 Chito almost baits you into taking the play on Vera. Here's my issue on Vera and why I don't think I'm going to take the stab on him. He's just notoriously a really slow starter. Just doesn't win the first round. So now he's got to fight back and win one of the next two. He's got to win both rounds to get this fight. He's not really a potent finisher, and to that extent, O'Malley's undefeated. He's been submitted twice as an amateur, but he's never been knocked out, and Vera likes to bang. Vera can submit guys. I just don't see him submitting O'Malley. I think he's going to look to bang with him. So if he's going to give the first round to O'Malley, he's fighting from behind again. And if you're going to get 265 on him straight up, let him lose the first round to Sean O'Malley, because he just always loses the first round. Let's at least understand that. He's fought in low competition like Guido Canetti, Wuji Burn. He's lost the first round to those guys. His last fight with Song Yadong, he had a good first round, but it's just close. And the first round he probably lost. That's part of the reason he lost the fight. People scream robbery on that fight. Like, holy shit, they thought, like Ross Pearson, Diego Sanchez. It's a close fight. You look at MMA decisions, it's split. It's 50-50, you know? It was rightfully a split decision. Now, Song Yadong, 22 years old. Other thing about Song Yadong 5'8" with a 67-inch reach. Sean O'Malley, 5'11" with a 72-inch reach. He's just bigger, he's longer, and Vera stands in the pocket just a little too much. So I find O'Malley, because he's fast, because he's dynamic, people will say small cage, they're 135 pounds. Like, what the fuck? They're pretty small. O'Malley's real tall for the weight. He's 5'11". That's not even considered a tall human being by any other standards. It's tall human being by bantamweight standards.
Yeah.
So I think he'll still be able to do what he does, dance around. Plus, he's 2-0 at the Apex already, won in contenders. Last fight against Eddie Wineland.
You see his hair dye job?
Awful. Looks like the Colombian flag. Is that what he's trying to go for?
The Ecuadorian flag.
Oh, is
so
it?
it's
Okay.
like when Cheeto's trying to hit him, he'll be hitting the flag.
Yeah.
Next level troll.
You know
job.
what? And that's part of the issue that I'm having with fully going. As much as I'm talking about O'Malley's going to stay to the outside, and he's a little crisper. He's going to get the first round in the bank. Improving. That's the other problem, is that because he's such a great character, and he's got a great social media following, and he's got the hair, and he's got the antics, and he talks a good game. Is that why he's ballooned out to 325 as a price tag?
Maybe.
I'm not fully understanding it.
I don't know. He's looked so good. Obviously,
So
Cheeto's
good. Okay. Yeah, go on.
so good in his last couple fights. Since coming back from suspension, this guy looks like a different dude. Nobody's really tried to take him down. Obviously, that was the hole in his game before. Obviously, if Andre Sukumuntath had just, stood up, he wouldn't have this perfect record. But I think O'Malley is a different guy than he was way back when. And I think Vera's going to try to force him up against the cage. Dirty box on the inside. Clinch. Yeah, help yourself. There you go, kid. Enjoy the Perrier.
Vera's scrappy, man. You know that.
He's absolutely scrappy. I think we see more of the Sugar Show here, but we're gonna get to a wrestler with O'Malley soon, and I think that's where he's gonna catch that first L.
Okay, so Vera's got underrated wrestling, man. Spends a lot of time working on it. And I that's why I wonder if this is not the spot. But
I just don't know if his wrestling is,
like you said,
a good enough.
I agree 100% in your assessment that the 2 years off, best thing that could have happened to this guy. Because otherwise he would have talked himself into a bad
he would have chase hoopered himself at some point,
He
where
would've
it's like
talked
he went
himself into a
against
bad
somebody who's a veteran and just got absolutely exposed.
Right, now he took the 2 years off because he was popped, and one of them was like steroids.
And the others were, it was like a tainted supplement and then weed.
And I didn't believe them, and he was cleared of it, or he was exonerated, whatever the case may be. But when you saw him come back from the 2 years, it was like, oh, he was on something. Maybe not roids, but like he filled out. That's the difference between 23 years old and 25 years old. Then you see him go out there and he looks great. But just keep in mind, he looks great against Eddie Wineland. Jose Alberto Quinones.
Yeah, it's true.
Easy to look better against those guys.
This is a big step up, and the price is similar.
Huge. It's a huge step up, especially when you consider Wineland's journeyman gatekeeper, end of his
I think
career.
He's minus 500 against Wyman.
Yeah,
Wineland.
But he's end of his career. He's mid 30s. Not a good spot. Quinones, 30-year-old. Again, you can call him a gatekeeper at best. Probably not. Outside of the top 25. Not a great spot. His wins prior to that, Andre Sukuman Taft, come on. His UFC run was very lackluster. Terrion Ware, currently on a 6-fight losing streak, and he has that big win over Albert Kazakian. Marlon Vera is absolutely, and this is what's bringing me to my last point, and then we can move on here. He's absolutely cast iron. When he beats guys, he finishes them. When he loses, it's a decision.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot finish this guy.
So we don't know if...
Song Yadong hits him with 101 significant strikes. He just takes it, he walks away. Douglas Andrade, who's very one-dimensional power puncher, lays it on him, but he takes it, loses a decision. John Lineker, you want to pull out that goat mask again? Your boy puts it on him, but he takes all the punishment. Davey Grant, decision. Marco Beltran, decision. Bruno Lobato, decision. No one's ever finished this man.
And we haven't seen O'Malley post that suspension have to go deep.
He only fights one round.
That's true.
So, yeah, great. And again, that's why you can bet Vera, because Vera loses the first round anyways.
Yeah, wait.
So
wait
O'Malley wins the first round, which were expected. And again, when you talk to Vera...
You got to see signs of O'Malley being tiring or something. Like, you're not... If he wins a round very decisively, it's really hard to click the button on, like, a guy who's already down a round.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's already 265. So after the first round, when they offer you
like,
450,
I bet
right?
it'd be more than
Then
that.
it's like, you know what?
Maybe more than that.
He usually fights down a round. You haven't seen O'Malley in the second round, so that's already kind of uncharted territories for him. I think O'Malley will be fine because he's got ADHD. And I know this is going to sound a lot funny to people, but they have so much energy, they just don't go. I know fighters who have it. Elias Theodorou, my buddy Donnelly. These guys just go. These guys just go. Because... when they're not fighting, it's like they don't stop, right? He's the same way. He's one of these wiry kids, probably didn't fit in high school, but is a bad motherfucker. And now he's channeling that. He's channeling that time. But one has to wonder, he's playing video games and he's running his own clothing line and he's spending a lot of time on social media and he's smoking the blunts and he's hitting the mitts and he's working with a really small crew of guys for this fight. Not with John Crouch. He's not at the lab with Benson Henderson. Just fought. Would have been good to get rounds in with him. A couple guys just recently competed out of the gym.
He's fighting out of Vegas? Or training out of Vegas?
No, he's still in Arizona, but he's just kind of running a small little, his own thing, right? With, I forget, that redhead guy. Good guy. I should know this. There was a time I knew everybody's name, but there's just not enough time anymore. Welsh?
Oh, Tim Welsh?
Yeah, right. Which was his boy, right? They're still hanging out. They're doing their own thing. He's a badass, was a good fighter, Bellator fighter. Never got to the peaks he wanted to.
I thought you were going to be talking about Spike Carlisle.
No. But at least it's good to get rounds with these big, strong guys, push you some rounds. So Vera's only 27 years old. O'Malley's only 25 years old. Technically speaking, they're both prospects. Only one of these prospects has fought some of the best guys and looked pretty okay. O'Malley's blown through some lower-level guys that, let's face it, Cheeto's fought lower-level guys outside of losing the first round, which he just always does. He finishes them too. So pick your poison, man. It's a very bad price. What I'm going with is, as we talked about, Vera, cast iron, hasn't been finished, fought some really good guys, taking the punishment. O'Malley, he's the favorite here, he's 325. Take the fight by goes to decision is minus 120. If you're really on O'Malley, take O'Malley by decision, which I haven't looked at, but I bet you it's plus money. There's so much.
What's Vera by decision?
Vera by decision is plus 600, and O'Malley by decision is plus 150.
So you're getting plus money on the other side. I see this fight going the distance. And even if O'Malley does that crazy stuff and he's sparking him with shots,
Maybe
like this guy takes it. Vera just takes it. He takes it and he loses the round. It's great. Whatever. The over, I looked at over 1.5, but it wasn't a great price tag. The 2.5 was a good price tag, but if you're going to take 2.5, just take fight goes the distance.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what I was looking at there. So if you don't feel comfortable with the price tag O'Malley, maybe look, just fight goes the distance. You can get minus 120 anyway.
We have Jairzinho Rozenstruik taking on Junior Dos Santos. Rozenstruik minus 140 favorite. Dos Santos plus 120. Rozenstruik obviously coming off of getting deaded by my boy.
Deaded big time.
Like real fast deaded.
Yeah.
Jairzinho, you cost me a whole bunch of money, so I didn't feel all that bad when I saw that happen because we were obviously on Overeem the fight before. Overeem's winning. Chinny guy. He's winning. We get into round 5. I'm already collecting. I'm like, good thing I didn't hedge. And, his face falls off in like the dying seconds. Overeem's face falls off in the dying seconds. Ended up losing that one. Again, now we're taking on you know, an older heavyweight, a guy who's, you know, been exposed for being chinny. Junior Dos Santos looking pretty good in the gym too. Saw some pictures floating
Holy
around.
shit, I know, right? Shout out to Pogi Rob. Follow him if you're not following him
Pogi
currently.
Rob was posting about that.
Yeah, holy
He
crap.
does look really good in that spot. I mean, I would imagine Junior Dos Santos has the wrestling advantage here. Rozenstruik hits really, really hard. He's a good striker, obviously. Can JDS get knocked out? Absolutely. That is 100% in the cards. But a plus 120, veteran experience, stay on the outside, maybe mix in the wrestling if possible. JDS has my eye at least. Or he has my eye. I haven't made any bet on him. What about you?
Yeah, again, I think we're on the same thing. On a card that's kind of barren for underdogs, JDS certainly sticks out. He's got the back class, first of all. He looks in great shape, second of all. 36 years old. If he was a bantamweight or a featherweight or a lightweight, definitely cause for concern. But at heavyweight, not that big of a deal. Has he taken a lot of damage in his career? Yeah, no doubt.
But the best guys.
Yeah, the absolute best guys. And you look at his last two losses, Francis Ngannou and Curtis Blades. It's like, okay, realistically, outside of we get this title fight out of the way on the weekend, and then that's number 2 and number 3 outside of that. Cormier retires, the title becomes vacant. You see probably Stipe versus Ngannou. 2, Blade sitting in the mix. So at least he's losing to elite level company. When they give him that step down in competition, he has been able to win. JDS has always had good boxing. He's had clean boxing, good output for a heavyweight, good light on his feet, mobile. That's what he brings to the heavyweight division. A guy that can move in and out, move on the perimeter, decent kicks. His wrestling, like you said, okay. Jiu-jitsu, okay. Cardio, you want to talk about a guy that's gone... Remember his first fight with Stipe? 5 rounds of just absolute knock him down. Can he still do that? I don't know. But he's fighting a lot smarter now. I think that's the key to beating Rozenstruik. Rozenstruik's got the touch of death. I think we've established that. But there's a small chance it's a fraudulent touch of death. And second of all, it'd be nice if you threw a little more in order to hit the touch of death. That's my issue with him. He just doesn't throw enough. I mean, Francis Ngannou fight aside, the Overeem fight came down to a buzzer beater because he just didn't throw.
And it wasn't even a knockout. It was a fate. Like his lip basically exploded.
Lip basically exploded.
And by basically, I mean 100% exploded.
All right. So it's like, okay, well, you know what? He does have the touch of death. It's like, well, why do you say that? It's like, well, dude, remember his UFC debut? Knocked out Junior Albini? It's like, yeah, Maurice Green took half the time to take out Albini. It's like, okay, fair enough. Remember when he knocked out Alan Crowder? Yeah, okay, but feed me a little something else.
Crowder's close to being the WOT.
Do you remember when he knocked out Andrei Arlovsky? It's like, okay, so Andrei's got like, what, 10 knockout losses on his career record? So good win because he's an established guy and a veteran guy. And then Overeem, it's like, oh, Overeem's the only guy that gives Andrei Arlovsky's record of most knockout losses a fucking run outside of the Shannon Riches of the world.
He didn't even knock him out. He exploded his lip.
It was a bad stoppage, absolutely bad stoppage. Because there's 4 seconds around. He's walking away.
Could
and
have
Overeem
ended
does
up,
stand
it could
up.
have
He's
ended up
wobbly.
being a draw
He's
or something
wobbly.
like that. Because, you know, Jairzinho did come on strong, obviously, at the end of the fight. But
He did come on strong. Apparently, he's got real good
Overeem
cardio,
was up
but he paces
3-1,
himself.
I believe, at least.
He just paces himself out far too much. So with JDS, I hate to draw the comparison, but I think this is where you look at it. JDS versus Derek Lewis, right? The thought process going in there, we were on JDS. The thought process going in there is like, man, this guy's a little chinny. He's pretty worn-torn. Derek Lewis is like a motherfucker. Can he fight without getting hit? Because if he gets hit, he's in trouble. But we were on him that he's got the better boxing, the better footwork, and a lot more output because Derek Lewis just doesn't throw enough. He's got a lot of power, not quite the touch of death, unless you're on the ground. If he's on top of you, holy shit, you're just screwed. But it was a similar thing, right? And JDS fought well. He got touched a couple times, but he did a good job of evading. And I think that's what he does here. And then the other point is Rozenstruik came to the U.S. to work out at ATT. So him and JDS have had rounds together. I'm sure of that. Who that favors, I'm not quite sure. But when you look at any of the tape, JDS is at ATT with the main team and the main crew of coaches and training partners. And Rozenstruik is kind of there, but he's mostly doing his stuff at his strength and conditioning gym. So again, I think there's a lot of advantages JDS, and he's the underdog. Why not have a poke simply at that, right?
Yep. We got Merab Dvalishvili taking on John Dodson. Merab is a minus 230 favorite. John Dodson plus 190. I mean, Merab is crazy cardio, insanely strong for 135 pounds. John Dodson, obviously a former flyweight, has done, I mean, He's a very, very talented fighter. Getting older, speed has always been his advantage, but speed's the first thing to leave as you get older. I think John will do a decent job of dancing around for a bit, but once Merab gets a hold of him, he doesn't even have the best technique for his takedowns, but
He's just
so strong. He's just so strong. He just muscles you to the ground, and I think once he gets a hold of Dodson, it's gonna be like every other Merab fight. I don't think Dodson's got enough to keep Merab from just barging forward. I don't love the price at minus 230 because this is definitely the biggest step up for Merab so far. But yeah, Merab, I just think too much strength once he gets a hold of him. Merab by decision is what's going to play out. A lot of cage work eventually because John Dodson has historically been so hard to take down. But I just think the strength disparity here, he'll get taken down. Merab by decision is kind of my official pick here. I haven't bet anything on this fight. What about you?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
That 138, by the way.
Minus 138?
Yeah.
That's more intriguing to me because Merab
What's
rarely
minus
finishes
one?
anybody.
Oh, by decision is
and
minus
John
138.
Dodson has a very good
Yeah,
chin, very
I'm
good
on that
durability.
play all day. If you're going to take Merab, you take Merab by decision. I mean, he's a decision machine. He can take you down 13 times. I'm going to go ahead and tell you something. Unless you're taking down Pifer last night in Contender Series, takedowns don't finish fights.
No.
Takedowns establish good control, good position, but also shout out to Mark Coleman snapping Shogun, who was our Once Upon a Time pride. It is just not a way to finish a fight. So yeah, he's impressive. He scores 13 takedowns, but a lot of that is taking you down and then muscling you around. The other thing is elite level wrestlers take you down 3 times, once in every round. That's it. You just don't get back up. Whereas this guy takes you down 13 times because you get up. Takes you down, you get back up. He takes you down, you get back up. His advantage is that he has a great cardio, insane amount of cardio, and he's just able to press you. I'm going to take him. I'll take him by decision. Same thing. Way better price. But this has apple pie shit slightly written on it because he didn't look very good against Gustavo Lopez, a guy that does not pack the same heat that John Dodson has and doesn't have the wrestling that John Dodson has. John Dodson's fast. He's more dynamic than Dvalishvili, certainly. And he's got a lot of power. If he sets up that opportunity to hit you, he'll hit you. Gustavo Lopez is landing some decent punches on Merab, but Merab just powers through and gets the takedown. Yeah, you can take down Dodson. In fact, lots of guys have taken down Dodson. Nathaniel Wood took him down. Peter Yan took him down twice. Pedro Munoz took him down. Marlon Moraes took him down. Demetrius Johnson took him down 4 times once upon a time. He's a flyweight. You can definitely get takedowns on him, but he's so hard to put away that it'll be the same thing as if Gustavo Lopez is getting up, John Dodson's getting up. And when John Dodson gets up and John Dodson hits
faster.
Yeah, and when John Dodson hits you, it hurts a lot more. So Merab's fought a pretty lower level of competition, but his style indicates he'll do the same thing as he did to Ricky Simone, that it won't get finished, and he'll just grind up against your leg. And listen, I mean, John Dodson's best days were at 125. His power didn't quite carry over. His speed didn't quite carry over for whatever reason. Maybe just got a little bit older. But he's still got some tools. But he's not a very big guy. 5'4", I believe. Maybe even a little smaller.
Merab's only 5'6".
But Merab's just going to put that Georgian grind right on him, as we were talking about. Very strong guys. He's going to put that grind on him, and he probably wins. And he probably wins a decision. But again, as I go to put the bet, I'm just going to put him here, and I'll put him over here.
You smell it. What's that smell?
What is that smell, right? And
We
actually had Dodson over Nathaniel Wood as the underdog.
Yeah.
But he's shitting a lot of people's pies. Not our pie, thankfully. But a lot of people's pies based on the guy's got power and he's pretty dynamic. And he actually represents, you said it best, a step up in competition for Merab. John Dodson's a career contender, fought all the best guys in the world, and lived to tell the tale. So again, he presents a lot of problems for Merab. And 230, not a great price tag. 138 because of the decision. You got to go with that. But I don't fully trust it as much as I generally love betting the shit out of Merab Dvalishvili. This one screams a little bit of a be wary.
We got my boy, Vince from Hell, Pichel, minus 125 favorite, taking on Jim Miller, who we cashed a 10-1 first round ticket on. We took on Roosevelt Roberts. Jim fights one way these days, guys. He's going to try to put away Vince early on in this fight.
This is fair.
And I call Vince the Swiss Army knife. He's pretty good at everything. I think he's able to stay out of danger with Jim. Jim's going to get tired in round 2. we either get a finish or we get Vince Pichel by decision. This fight was basically a pick'em a couple days ago. The money's starting to come in on Vince, as I think it should. Jim Miller exposed a prospect in Roosevelt Roberts who, you know, the holes were there. You just have to go. You just had to move forward and, like, you know, overwhelm the kid really, really early. Vince isn't going to get caught by the same picks. Vince has been an absolute ATM for me, for the team. I already have a decent-sized wager on Vince Pichel at -110. It's -125 now. I would still play it, probably up to -170.
I got something for you.
What you got?
You said if he can escape round one, you don't think Vince finishes him in round one. If there's
Vince isn't really a finisher.
I agree.
If he can get it, he's 22-1 to finish in round three.
Vince to finish around.
That's
22 to 1.
so big.
Okay, that's worth a poke because
Yeah,
like
that's worth
Jim's gonna come out hot. Jim comes out hot every fight. I just don't think that his tricks are gonna work on Vince. I don't know if he's gonna be able to take Vince down or at least consistently. Maybe he gets him down once quickly. I think Vince is going to be able to survive, and Jim will be will gas out from trying to hunt for the finish. So Vince Pichel is the pick. I have a bet on Vince Pichel, and that round 3 prop is muy picante.
He's also 2-1 to win by decision.
I don't know. I'm just gonna bet him straight up. I think.
Oh, you bet the third round at 22, then bet the 2-1.
I mean, I'll probably
if you think he's gonna win.
I'll take a poke at the 22. I don't know if I'm gonna take the decision prop though.
I'll tell you something. You don't need to talk about decisions in this fight because Paul Shaughnessy is the Vince Pichel fucking whisperer. 7 fights in the UFC. Guy doesn't fight a lot. He had like a 3-year
rarely ever
layoff.
fights.
No, he had like a 3-year layoff between 2014, 2017. Fights once, takes a year off, comes back, fights once, takes a year off. Coming into this fight, he's coming off a year-long layoff, where that probably won't hurt him. He just doesn't have the time. And his fights coming back from his layoffs, usually pretty good. 5-2 in those 7 fights. Paul Shaughnessy nailed every single one of them. You had his loss over Rustam Habilov and Gregor Gillespie, your other boy, and you had his 5 wins, and he comes through as the underdog a lot. You got a good read on this guy. He's super strong. He's 37 years old. Jim Miller, 36 years old. Ain't that some bitch? The difference here is that
Damage and wear and tear.
yeah, Vince Pichel's 12-2, right? Good for 14 pro fights. Whereas Jim Miller has 14 pro losses. You know, he's got so many more fights. The wear and tear on this guy. And he'll fight injured, and he'll fight up a weight class, and he'll fight the toughest guys in the world. And the motherfucker will fight with Lyme disease.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Miller is the definition of a bad motherfucker. But his wins, he's got to get it done in the first round. Goes after you in the first round. Goes after you in the first round, yeah.
100%.
And, you know, Pat makes a good point. Well, geez, why don't you take Vince Pichel later in the round if you think he gets out of that first round, beats him up? He says, I really think that this fight plays out similar to Jim Miller versus Scott Holtzman. Even though Miller has all these first round finishes, whether he wins or he loses, doesn't matter. He likes to finish quick. Holtzman's too big, too strong, doesn't let Miller get the fight to the ground. Therefore, Miller can't use his best weapon, which is top game in his submission game. He's got to box a little bit. He is a better technical boxer than Vince Pichel. Unfortunately, Vince Pichel is a lot bigger than him, a lot stronger than him, and I just think he's going to move forward. He'll get hit a few times, but he'll land big punches. And when you look at Holtzman versus Jim Miller's outboxing Holtzman in the first round. He lands the better punches in the first round. The difference is his punches just don't get Scott Holtzman's attention. And Scott Holtzman walks through them, takes the punishment, and as round 2 and 3 goes on, Miller completely gasses out. Guy that was once known for his cardio, as we talked about with Daniel Cormier, maybe getting older. Cardio, bit of an issue. Once Holtzman takes his best punches in the first round, he just wears on him. I think that's what happens with Pichel. I think the first round, again, Miller probably gives a good account of himself.
Could be another good live betting spot.
Could be a good live betting spot.
Miller wins round 1, but if you see any sort of sign of him slowing down, not looking as fast,
For sure.
you could catch like a plus 150 on Vince in between rounds 1 and 2.
Yeah, now we talked about guys being in shape and layoffs and all that. Vince Pichel coming off a year-long layoff. He did have an injury, but again, you look at any tape on him right now, fucking guy looks in good shape. He's always been big for the weight class. He's always been strong for the weight class. And consider his 2 losses in the UFC are to Rustam Habilov and Gregor Gillespie. Like, yeah, really,
If
the
you
guy's
have
not bad.
really, really elite wrestling, you can give him a hard time.
Yeah, so I think Miller gives him a problem in the first round. I think as Miller starts to wear out, Vince Pichel keeps going on. Cardio has never been a Vince Pichel issue. The guy keeps going, and even though he's that 1 year older, a lot more gas in the tank, I believe. So give me Vince Pichel Vince Pichel by decision, and the over 1.5 on that one.
We got Livia Souza taking on Ashley Yoder. Souza minus 160 favorite. Yoder can be had for plus 140. Any thoughts here?
This could be a potential apple pie hitter as well, actually, depending on how much faith you put in Livia Souza. And I, Cody Saftic,
I loved her in Invicta.
I put a lot. Yeah, I put so much faith in Livia Souza. She was an ATM in Invicta. My God, girl's got it all. Judo black belt, good BJJ, strong body kick, aggressive striking. Looks good through Invicta ranks, comes to the UFC. Blows through Alex Chambers. That was a gimme, let's face it. I think she was a minus 1350 or something stupid. Like, you couldn't even bet it. Now, second fight against Sarah Frada, I believe. Frada misses weight and comes in and looks so big. And Livia Souza struggles in that fight. The takedowns win it for her, but she doesn't throw a whole lot of punches, doesn't throw a whole lot of kicks. That was kind of out of her arsenal. Now she takes on Van Buren, Brianna Van Buren, sorry. And it's the same thing. She throws almost no strikes. She just allows herself to get backed up. She allows Van Buren to get off first. And then Van Buren is able to just take her down, more or less at will. So the problem I took away from those two fights is Van Buren's kind of big, kind of physical. She was able to muscle her around a little bit. Same thing with the Sarah Frada fight. The Frada fight. Where did she have her success? When she was able to just big, strong, aggressive, move forward. But she was giving up the takedowns. This girl's not, Livia Souza's not super big. I don't think she can make 105. She's never fought at 105. But bigger, stronger, more physical fighters, that's usually what gets to her. And Ashley Yoder is not very good. But at the very least, Ashley Yoder presents the problems that Livia Souza has been facing recently. She's kind of big for the weight class. She's grindy. She just wants to wrestle and take this fight to the ground. Livia Souza has a massive striking advantage, but she chooses not to use it by not throwing any strikes. So now we got the grappling. Yoder is very competent in the grappling. She's probably got, I don't want to say a wrestling advantage because of that judo edge for Souza, but she's probably not totally out of it. And as far as fight goes the distance, yeah, I've obviously got that, but yeah, Ashley Yoder has fought some decent grindy fighters, like her last fight, Ronda Marcos, split decision. Able to takes down Ronda Marcos twice. Pretty good. Ronda Marcos, strong. Big for the weight class. Good wrestler. If she does the same thing, goes out there and gets the fight to the ground against Livia Souza and holds her down and wins a couple rounds, Livia Souza gets back to her feet, but she's not throwing. She's not throwing. Where's the body kick? It's open. Why don't you throw it? Why don't you get your hands going? Loses rounds, close fight. Yoder's training. I don't know. I just feel like I've
Armbar
gone
from guard.
Yeah, my problem is Livia Souza's actually cost me money pretty decent considering shit the bet against Van Buren. And then because I liked her so much, it gave me a false sense of how good Van Buren was. Because Van Buren styled on her and then proceeded to get styled on by Tisha Torres.
Yep.
So looking here, it's like, well, okay, Tisha Torres is a top contender. That's a high level. Ashley Yoder's not that level. She's 7-5. She hasn't looked particularly great in the UFC, but she's in grindy, relatively close fights against good fighters. Went the decision against Mackenzie Dern. You could do worse. I'm probably going to hit a pass on that. As much as I really want to bet Livia Souza, as much as I really, really, really do, the reason why we're on such a good roll is we're doing a good job of avoiding those spots that we normally just dive straight into. So I'm sure if I tweet out parlay, she's gonna fucking be on it.
She's gonna be on the 9-legger or the 11. Or there's only 11 fights on the card. And one of them doesn't even have lines.
And listen, I'll tape study right to the fucking fight happens, right? So I'm gonna keep on it. If anything changes, anything changes. But Ashley Yoder has the feel of a live dog because Souza's just been struggling against bigger, stronger, grindier fighters. Ashley Yoder is not as big and strong and grindy as the last few opponents, but she is. She has the tools to potentially pull off an upset.
Make sure you're following Cody at CJ Saftic. He drops little. You dropped the goods last weekend. Tons of people who are following you, looking for those parlays. People said don't parlay. Well, you can parlay when you're following. Who I believe and will continue to say is the GOAT. Bleat. All right. Follow him on Twitter at CJ Saftic. On fight day, he's going to be dropping those
even better,
stuff.
The reason why I leave it closer to fight time, and eventually, who knows, maybe stop doing it, is watch the show. Man, I'm telling you the advice right now. Just watch the show.
Sometimes you change a couple opinions. Yes.
Wins is something, as I talked about, I tape study
it's
right to the end. If
Collier,
I see something.
we're like, oh, this could be interesting, and then you see him showing up like double Volante, and you're like, oh.
Never be too
Get
stubborn
out
to
of
change your
this.
opinion.
Yeah,
Take as
exactly.
much info as you can. That's why I say live betting is the way to go, right? As much as we can talk about the fight, we watched the last 10 fights. We looked at sparring
Once you
footage
see
from
them
camp.
in together, you actually have so much more information.
You have so much more data in the first minute, 2 minutes of the fight than you ever did prior to the fight. You really do. This guy's getting stuffed, and you thought he was going to get him to the ground. This guy's missing his punches. This guy's looking a little off. He's looking a little daint. Live betting is where it's at, but who the fuck does a live betting show? So let's talk about the fights beforehand. That's what we're doing. And yeah, I think a pass is in order, or maybe small play, fight goes the distance, and potentially Yoder. But I would say Souza's my official play here.
Herbert Burns takes on a blast from the past, Daniel Pineda, back in the UFC. God, it's been. I mean, I never thought he would be back, but here we are. Maybe he's been doing well in the regional scene. I'm sure you've probably got all the information about that. I mean, Herbert Burns, 1FC. I watched the tape. I watched a bunch of fights, and it's just like, you know what? I mean, he's not Gilbert. And I think he's still not Gilbert.
No,
but
and he'll never be Gilbert. Let's
he's
get that off the
proven
table.
us wrong. And those Burns brothers
proven
are
me
the most improved
That's true.
brothers in any sport, as far as I'm considered. Like Gilbert's performance that he put on last time.
No, that was a no performance because he fought Woodley. But his
Oh,
other
come
body
on.
of
You gotta
no,
give some-
bro, no, you know me.
He put
That-
on
it's a
he
fucking
outstruck
non-win.
Woodley, and he
And
took
we took
down
and
Woodley.
I said he
And we
fucking
took
beat
him.
Woodley
We
easy.
bet him. We were on him.
No,
but
it's
I
his
mean,
other body of work is impressive.
Both of these guys.
That's not
all I'm
impressive.
saying is that the Burns brothers
Yeah,
have
I agree.
taken their game to a whole new level. And I think Herbert, we haven't given him respect. He's cost us some money in his first 2 UFC fights. To be perfect, to be
I
frank
agree.
with
I agree.
people,
Try to fade him. Good work.
I'm not fading him this time, but minus 290. That scares me. It smells like an apple pie shit.
Oh man, what
I'm
the
not
fuck
gonna
is? Did you
bet.
smell that?
I'm not gonna bet Pineda this time around, but I'm not gonna get hurt by Burns this time. I'm not gonna get Burns.
Burned by Burns.
It's a straight up pass, but Herbert's looked great. His striking looks on point. He's obviously training with his brother. He's only getting better and better and better every single time we see him. Pineda, I don't know much about what he's been up to. He was never anything special when he was in the UFC. His first run around, this may actually be value. I think the more interesting thing, and we'll talk about at the end, is Burns may kind of fly under the radar, may not get the attention he deserves on DraftKings, and he's been finishing guys fast. That may actually be the play, is Herbert Burns on DraftKings, but I'm not getting up to the minus 290, minus 300 I see, and may even get up even further. It's a straight up pass for me. What about you?
Yeah, so Daniel Pineda, crazy to see him back in the UFC. A 1-4 run once upon a time. And yeah, legendary run the first time. I'm talking, first time he beats Pat Schilling. That actually fucking killed me, man. He was a minus 140. I don't know why I ever thought Pat Schilling was worth a fuck. But that was 2012, man. We were in CSM at the time. I remember I was watching the play-by-play on my phone at the bank, and I was like, God, sucker Schilling, son of a bitch. Anyways, then
8 years ago.
He beats Macron Semrenzer. Good win for him. Mike Brown, Antonio Carvalho, Justin Lawrence, Diego Branda, Robert Whitford. Those were all decent guys at the time. He just wasn't getting the wins. Cut from the UFC, goes to the regional scene. The regional scene's been up and down for him. But one thing about Daniel Pineda comes to fight, man. Daniel Pineda goes after you, and he's super versatile. That'll either be his strength in this fight, but probably his worst
His
enemy.
downfall.
His worst enemy, of course. His last 2 fights, now he's absolutely just completely starched the board. So he's fighting on fights for LFA, whatever. He's getting regional scene victories over lower level guys. PFL signs him, right? Add him to the featherweight tournament. He took on this Mavlid Kabulayev in the first round. Kabulayev was not only the favorite to win the entire tournament for PFL and win $1 million, but Daniel Pineda was a plus 420 underdog. 420, shout out. A plus 420 underdog to Kabulayev, and he knocks him out in 29 seconds. Crazy. Then the son of a bitch comes back the same night against Jeremy Kennedy, who's a tough guy. UFC veteran, top Canadian featherweight.
JBC.
Very durable. And he chokes out Jeremy Kennedy with a guillotine 4 minutes into the fight. Now he's going on to fight for $1 million, Paul. Only he tests positive for steroids. So he's had a suspension. I don't know why the UFC picked him up, considering
Fresh off of a steroid suspension.
dude, and he won twice in one night.
When they have USADA
the
in
two
place?
biggest wins of his career, and they're both no contests.
Oh,
So
boy.
he's coming off 2 no contests coming into this fight. He's 35 years old, Texas guy, BJJ black belt. Again, potent finisher. Daniel Pineda has 26 pro wins. Okay, 8 knockouts, 18 submissions. Motherfucker has never won a decision. Likewise, I think he's lost 2 decisions, but he's been submitted 3-4 times. He's been knocked out once. He's a do or die type guy. I love fading Herbert Burns. I thought Nate Landwehr would tire him, put a pace on him, break him down late, win the decision. But he KO'd Landwehr early. I thought Evan Dunham would stuff the takedowns, keep it standing, box him up. But he took Dunham down and submitted him in the first round. He doesn't present the same issues to Herbert Burns, because whereas Daniel Pineda can wrestle and he can strike, and I think he has a lot of tools, he's never won a decision. And Herbert Burns has never been finished, because just like Gilbert, tough son of a bitch, can strike, very good grappler. At some point, there'll be an opportunity for him to get on top. And when he gets on top, that's how you beat Pineda. You grind him, you submit him. Pineda has been a good, again, it could be an apple pie situation. The reason I'm passing on him, just my luck. This is just a my luck thing. It happened with the Shoey master himself. You buy into the hype. Who's his big name? Big Samoan guy. Obviously, I'm drawing a blank here. Who invented the shoe? He didn't invent the shoe.
Oh, Tai Tuivasa.
Tai Tuivasa. I wanted to fade Tai so bad. You remember these days. I wanted to fade him so bad. And I got bad options to fade him. Finally say, you know what? I was wrong. Jump on the bandwagon. Should have faded him. He was who I thought he was. It's just the matchups didn't align up. I don't think Herbert Burns is that good. I think he benefits a lot from his brother's name. He's coming in as a minus 290 favorite. Probably shouldn't be that big of a favorite, but he's looked good in his first 2 fights. Has he? Or has he gotten lucky in the first 2 fights? No, it's skill. But part of it could be timing as well. If I jump on the Herbert Burns bandwagon, especially at 290 now,
I'm not jumping on the wagon. I may play him on DraftKings.
Yeah, and I think if you play him,
Because
you play him.
he's been winning quick. And that's what we're looking for.
He's been winning quick. I mean, he got Evan Dunham down, who's an adequate a wrestler, good former collegiate wrestler, okay, and a BJJ black belt. Took him down, he submitted him. So Pineda is a wrestler,
With
right?
a BJ
Not as good as Evan Dunham, and he's a BJJ black belt. More creative and opportunistic than Evan Dunham, but maybe not on the same levels of it. If they just grappled straight up, I think Devin probably wins it. It's a lesser matchup. This guy's shown what he can do, and I think Herbert Burns probably pulls it off. But I can't jump on that bandwagon on a personal level. I also think if you take Burns, you probably take Burns inside the distance. 290 is not a great price tag. You probably take him inside the distance. Does he knock out Daniel Pineda? No. Pineda can take a hell of a punch, and Herbert Burns is not really a TKO guy. Burns can submit guys. Pineda happens to have 3 losses by submission as well. That's the path. Pineda actually is a grappler. If this becomes grappler versus grappler, who do you got? You got Burns. And you got Burns probably by submission. So I don't know what the price is on that. But if you want to try to beat 290, I would, my advice to you, if you're a Burns guy, probably not.
I know,
but that's something to look at.
It doesn't have just by submission, but to finish by KO, TKO, DQ, or submission, Burns is minus 175.
That's not enough yet. We would need the straight up submission.
Yeah, that's a bad price.
Which they don't release until Thursdays, Fridays. Maybe out by the time you're listening to this right now.
This is also another good live betting opportunity. If Pineda takes what Burns has got in the first round, Burns always tires out. And
I got by submission now. It's minus 165.
It's not a great price.
Not enough.
It's not bad, but that's not something
we're not jumping on the 290. I would have needed plus money to play it. I would have needed. Give me a plus 100. I'll be your
Huckleberry.
I'll be your Huckleberry. That's the word I was looking for, or the saying. All right, we got Vera. Can you explain this one to me?
Verna
Jandiroba minus 320. Felice Herrig plus 260.
I don't get it either. Yeah.
Can you explain to me why Verna is this big of a favorite? Because Felice is pretty competent wrestler. Obviously, the grappling advantage goes to Verna.
Yeah.
But if this stays on the feet, Felice has been in there with elite competition.
Point stock
She can
kickboxing
hang.
wins
She can
fights.
point fight.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
can win rounds. She can keep herself out of trouble. She's good buddies. I don't know if they've been training with each other, but with Carla. Obviously,
ATM in her own
Carla's in
right.
San Diego, and Felice spends her time up near
Illinois.
Chicago.
Yeah, she's with Jeff Curtin and those guys, I think.
But, they're friends and stuff. I'm sure whenever they're around each other, they probably spend some time training together. She's very, very confident at everything. She's not a specialist at anything, but I think 260 in a women's 115-pound fight, I'm very, very interested in betting Felice Herrig. Tell me I'm crazy or don't.
Well, you're not completely crazy. Just on Felice pulls these kind of upsets. She's in close fights and she's well-rounded. She's a generalist. Does she do anything specifically well? Maybe not, but she can do it all. That becomes interesting when she takes on someone like Verna Jandiroba, who's very one-dimensional. If you're able to take Verna out of that one dimension, you've got the other skills to potentially pull it off. Felice Herrig started off her career as a kickboxing champion. Apparently, I've watched some tape. I wasn't overly impressed, but she's a decent level kickboxer. A lot of decisions on the record. Comes to MMA, it's been all over the place, but her grappling's kind of always been her problem. I think she spent a lot of time on her grappling, gotten her grappling better, just seems to be in an all-around better place. The biggest thing is, if you've ever met her, which I have, Felice Herrig is a 365 fighter. This girl is in tremendous shape all of the time. Mm-hmm. Now she's pulling off these upsets in the UFC. I know she's lost her last 2 fights. We'll get to that. She's pulling off these upsets in the UFC. It's just based on she has a good game plan, she's got good cardio, and she's got some skills everywhere. She cashed a couple very nice tickets. This is wacko. Kayleen Curran, she's a plus 115. Felice Herrig, because just like anybody, you fade her. Then she fights Alexa Grasso, where she's plus 315. But she fights a smarter game plan because she's a savvy veteran. She's been around the sport at this time. She's in great shape. She finds ways to win. The Justine Quiche fight, I totally fucked that one up. I was all over Quiche. Felice Herrig, plus 130. She's now cashed 3 straight underdog tickets. Courtney Casey, finally, they give her some respect. She's a minus 115.
Yeah.
But she hustles her up.
Never a big favorite.
Right, now you get Karolina Kovacevic, former title contender, and it's a split decision loss. Then she gets Michelle Waterson, former UFC title contender, and it's a unanimous decision loss. Then she blows out her knee and she's taken 2 years off. She now returns to the sport, 35 years old, definitely older. I don't think cardio is going to be an issue because she's just such great shape. Probably what contributed to blowing out her ACL was just being so active on it. But I think she'll return as a decent form. Can she wrestle? Can she grapple? Can she strike? Absolutely. Does she pose problems to Verna Jandiroba? Absolutely. Verna's got to get this fight to the ground, establish top control, and hold her down. It's easier said than done. I would want a better price tag than 320. It's not a good price tag. I take pass.
Well, Felice by decision.
I was going to say I would take dog or pass, but 2 years off, blown out knee. Come on, man.
Yeah.
It's a good price, but come on, man. I don't know. It's probably just a pass.
The decision prop may be silly.
The decision prop is probably pretty good because keep in mind, Felice Herrig, right? As we'll go right back through that, right? Grasso by decision, Quiche by decision, Casey split, Karolina split, Michelle Waterson unanimous. Okay, she's giving up a grappling advantage. Did she not give up grappling advantages over Michelle Waterson and potentially Karolina? She can take a punch. She's durable, good cardio. She's there to hang around. Either you take fight goes to decision, probably not a good price, or if you're that sold on Jandiroba, maybe have a look at Jandiroba by decision. It certainly beats minus 320.
Fair. All right.
It's plus 350 for Herrig to go to decision, and it's plus 105 the other side by decision.
Plus 305 to win by decision for Herrig? Yeah.
Plus 350.
Eh.
And then plus
As
105.
I mean, it's better than
compared to
260. I
Yeah,
don't expect
well,
her to finish anybody.
honest,
If I was going
right,
to bet it, that's the
Her
side
only
I would
way to
bet,
finish, her only way to finish is with a submission. So if she's giving up that big of a submission, and she's not finishing if she does win. She's winning a decision. So yeah, if you're going to take Felice by decision, 350, even better. If you're going to take Jandiroba, I think you just pass, man. I think you pass. Listen, what was the one fight that theoretically shit in the PRP last week? Should have just fucking passed. Nah, should just pass. You know why I took the dog? There was no edge. There was no thought process. It's just like, if you're going to have a mid-level fight, the dogs come through. Who knows? Let's just throw it on there. When the PRP was designed, you've seen it, her name, the 12th name on the thing. Just no confidence.
Well, you played the other side of it, too.
Because I had no confidence. And I was like, I'll just play one ticket on both sides. Because that was...
It was the last one.
It was the last fight.
You're just throwing it in there.
Everybody else I thought would be okay. Means worried about him. But as we talked about on the show, motherfuckers got to wrestle more. Guys got to grapple more. Him holding him up against the cage,
I mean,
you got to realize...
we didn't think Sanchez was going to win by first round knockout, but...
No. We thought he would win a decision. And when we talk about decision props, it's like you never know. We talked about he had power, he had a good striking. He fell right off the map 7 minutes into the fight, 8 minutes into the fight. Hopefully he can get Turman into a good spot where it's like they're both tired.
Win 2 rounds.
Yeah, and he's won 2 rounds.
And then hold on in round 3.
Yeah, Turman doesn't put it on him. Turman didn't put it on the way Ryan James puts it on the way. We talked about younger guys, high output. That was the way to beat Sanchez. You never know what's going to happen. You can get the right guy, but not get the right method. That's why it's always smarter when you're parlaying to parlay them straight up. Because you don't want to go 12 for 12 or 10 for 10, whatever the price, but be like, God damn it, I had O'Malley by decision because you guys said O'Malley would probably, Vera couldn't be finished. You said Vera couldn't be finished. What the fuck, man? I took him by decision. When you're parlaying big, take them straight up.
Your parlays
when
last
you're betting
week-
props, when you're betting straight up, smaller parlays, maybe 3-5 parlays, definitely.
There's one book that they do like the double chance. So it's like, it was Derek Lewis by TKO or decision. And that was minus 150 on fight day rather than the minus 200.
But
So,
decision,
it's
come
like,
on,
he's
was
not
that ever going to happen?
He's not going to submit Alexei Oleinik. So it's like, I can just take those extra points. That's like one of the few situations. So like all of my parlays that I tailed you that won me thousands of dollars had Derek Lewis by TKO or decision. I was just like, I might as well just take the extra. I'll take the extra price there because like Derek Lewis is not submitting really anybody, let alone Alexei Oleinik. That's not happening.
My problem is I came into a situation where I was like, I need to put $8,000 on Alexei Oleinik to hedge this out. So that's what I did because if Lewis won, everything was going to come through. It was going to be epic. So I had $8,000 on Alexei Oleinik. Honestly,
as you called yourself, puss.
Yeah, I did because I hedged it out either way.
Yeah.
If Derek Lewis would have lost, I would have made about 16,000, and if Derek Lewis won, I'd win 17,000. It didn't matter, but I'm glad he won because that was. I
had Oleinik on DraftKings, and
I'm glad
obviously with all of our other underdogs, with Means and Sanchez, I was set up perfectly, but I had Oleinik. So then I didn't actually hedge anything because I knew I was looking at like the standings and stuff. I'm like, if Oleinik gets that first round submission, I mean, he had him in the.
He had
the scarf hold. He just wasn't
for sure.
I think Derek Lewis gets out of that 9 times out of 10 after seeing it. I think we texted each other about that. He's just too strong. You can't. That type of maneuver is not going to work when Derek Lewis can literally just push that arm off. Right? He's just so strong. But you don't know that going into the fight. But I didn't actually hedge because I looked at the DraftKings rankings. I'm like, if Oleinik wins, he's going to win early. I'm going to skyrocket up a bunch of these rankings. If Derek Lewis wins, well, Cody's got all of the parlay goods on the other side. So it was a win-win by the time I got to the main event last week.
And listen, I love letting it ride, but that was just too dicey. And believe me, as much as I had Lewis, champion for Lewis, super excited Lewis won. When Lewis is on his back in a fucking scarf hold, don't you think I was glad I hedged?
Of course.
Okay, Lewis got out of it the first time. He gets back on top, okay? That sweep was the saddest sweep the world's ever seen. They were on their knees, and Lewis just flopped back over. It was like, oh, no. But fighting is a crazy game, man. You're going to get certain spots. If the guy overcomes a spot, Stipe Cormier is no different. Cormier can knock him out in the first 3. If he doesn't knock him out in the first 3, that's when you get the impression that Stipe is going to come on. Derek Lewis is going to win that fight if he could get out of the first round. When he did get out of the first round, it was all day. The fight game's just a crazy game. You never know which direction it's going to go. You just hope. We always talk about 9 out of 10 times, 8 out of 10 times. Yeah, but they're only fighting once, right? So who the fuck knows what that one time is going to present? If they fight a bunch of times, sure. They're never going to fight a bunch of times. You just have to go with what you got. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how that ties into Vernon Jandiroba versus Felice Herrig. However, what I can tell you is, if you're whoever side you got, take it by decision. Take the fight by decision. Pat said it was 350. That's shit. So, again, it could be a spot where you just walk, to be honest.
All right, we got TJ Brown taking on Danny Chavez. Tell me about Danny Chavez. TJ Brown is minus 145 favorite. Chavez plus 125. I know TJ Brown, action fighter. Had like 8 takedowns, scored like, well, he's more potentially a big time DraftKings play if he can get the win here. I don't know much about Chavez though. What's up with him?
Yeah, so talking about TJ Brown, similar to Daniel Pineda in the sense that he's a killer be killed guy. He's an action fighter. He goes for it. That is to his credit. It's why he wins fights. That is also why he loses fights. He's shown a propensity to kind of be half fragile. He can have a good first round. You can go back to that last fight against Jordan Griffin.
Yeah.
Holy shit, man, he's taking him down left, right, and center.
8 takedowns. He scored like 89 points in a second round
Oh,
loss.
it was crazy. It was crazy. He was stacking that fight was the way to go. And he put his head in that choke, I don't know, half a dozen times, 7 times. Got out every time. But eventually, guillotine got him. Oh, crazy finish. Man, I like this TJ Brown guy. He's young-ish, got some skills. He can strike. He can grapple. Cardio doesn't seem to be an issue, even though he's getting caught or late in fights. Maybe it's the pace he puts on. Decent little prospect. But it's not just that last fight. It's a career of this. He's kind of done that throughout his entire career. Prior to the Jordan Griffin fight, he had lost to Cody Carrillo, right? Cody Carrillo at the time, 13-16, right? Cody Carrillo knocked him out 2 minutes and 28 seconds, first round, just caught him. Coming at him, TJ Brown coming at him, caught by an absolute journeyman 13-16 opponent. Okay, that's fair. You go back to the fight with, prior to that, Bobby Taylor. Bobby Taylor was 3-6 at the time. Bobby Taylor knocked him out in minute 56. Caught him. His other career losses, Joe Miola, submitted in the second round. Trey Ogden, submitted in the first round. Shelby Graham, submitted him. These guys are finishing him. He's kill or be killed. That's what he's there to do. That's what he's there to present. Danny Chavez seems fairly one-dimensional. But I'm telling you, I know this from boxing. These Colombian guys, sometimes they're not the most technical. They are so fucking tough. They throw absolute heat. They have natural God-given power. And whereas they're not more technical, they throw absolute power. Now, I can't just stereotype this guy and say, oh, Danny Chavez, well, geez, he's Colombian. His nickname's physically the Colombian Warrior. He'll be fine. He's at MMA Masters, which is, if ATT didn't exist, it would be the best gym in South Florida. Unless
That's where Ricardo Lamas trains.
Yeah, well, tons of good guys have come out of MMA Masters. In fact, a lot of guys have left MMA Masters to go to ATT. Unfortunately, it's the bigger scene, right? He did not look good back in, I don't know, a few years ago. I think it's 2016. But his last 3 fights, he's just going in there and putting a demolition job on people. Here's his problem, Paul. He's 33 years old, right? He turned pro at 23 years old. Since then, hasn't done a whole lot. He had lost a couple fights. He had a 2-year layoff. He came back. Since then, he's won 3 fights, all in the first round. He's an action fighter with first-round power that can certainly hurt you. TJ Brown is an action fighter who's got a better ground game, should be able to take him down, neutralize him, and submit him. But if TJ Brown doesn't get that first-round finish, well, this guy's going to be swinging some heat. TJ Brown's been known to get clipped by far lesser talent and go down. So it's a dynamite fight. I want to go TJ Brown. My pick will be TJ Brown because I'm a superior ground game over superior striking kind of guy. But with a guy that's been KO'd, again, in the first round by lesser guys, now step up in competition, tough guy, 3-fight winning streak, all first-round KOs, and not fighting bad guys either. It's not like he's fighting a low level of competition by no means. He's fighting decent dudes. I would have to say this is probably more likely a 50-50 fight. So Brown's 145. I'm saying I have him, but the value side of it would certainly be Danny Chavez plus 125. As far as DraftKings goes, 7,400. Again, we'll talk about it. Chavez just dices guys in the first round, and Brown has a propensity to get finished. So he's certainly a live pick. If you want Brown, he's 8,800. So he has to style on him the same way. DK is definitely going to be Danny Chavez. As far as the actual pick goes, I'm going to take TJ Brown, but I don't want to tell you pass on so many fights, whatever. But there's 11 fights on the card. I seen a comment last week. The guy's like, man, you guys pass too much. It's like, fuck. We give you a pick on almost every fight. Every fight.
I mean,
every fight.
If that
I tell
guy
you I like 6
followed
spots,
you on
but I don't like 5. I don't understand what the
guy
problem is.
maybe paid a little bit of attention and, I don't know, followed you on Twitter,
Wow.
saw all of your picks, he would have went 11 for 12, be a lot richer and probably a lot less negative in the chat.
And you know what? I try not to let it get to me because I appreciate it. If you're in this part of the show, if you made it this far, shout out to you on this. But Twitter numbers doesn't really mean shit compared to YouTube numbers, right? We need you to like the show. We need you to leave a comment on the show. That is what runs the analytics, which is good. That's good for business. Somebody wants to have a comment on Twitter, that's cool too. But YouTube certainly helps. So this guy wants to call me a dickhead, that's fine. This guy wants to say I pass on too many fights, whatever, that's fine too. I appreciate the comment nonetheless. But it's just, I like constructive criticism, not shit criticism. Saying I passed too much. I'm telling you, this is another close fight. Chavez has the power. He could end things for Brown. Brown looked good his last time out. But again, Brown's done this a lot where he's looked good early, kind of got caught late. My official pick, Brown. We'll give you the PRP. Brown's going to be on it. We'll tweet out parlays at some time during the week. Brown's going to be on some. But he's not a lock, despite I love guys that score 8 takedowns.
And
he's not in lock
I
because
disagree with
there's some
you.
danger there.
If you disrespect Cody Saftic, who's been printing money for people for 7-8 years now, I mean, I'm a know nothing dick sometimes. So.
No, Paul,
no.
I trust your opinion. Believe me.
No.
You're who I talk to.
Well, what I'm
before I
saying
bet
is
these
you're
fights.
always just, you look at you on Twitter, you're just always nice to everybody. If you don't like Cody Saftic, the problem is you. I mean,
Thanks for standing up for me, Paul.
Yeah, I will stand up for you. It's like those cater nut huggers.
Oh, I know.
Glad they left.
You know what? Betting against McGregor, you always got heat. Betting against Jose Aldo, surprisingly, I always got heat. Never fucking got heat like that betting against Calvin Kattar. So shout out to you, East Boston boys.
Hey,
Passionate. Gotta give you that.
Take your show over to EA Sports UFC 4 because they didn't put your boy in the game. Stay out of our mentions. We got Parker Porter taking on. They don't listen anymore because we picked EA in that fight, so it's fine. We got Parker Porter. They didn't cash in on any of your parlays last week either. Oh, that's
Yeah,
unfortunate.
there you go. They didn't block me though. One of them still follows me actually.
I don't know. I muted them. We got Parker Porter taking on Christopher Daukaus. Basically a straight pick 'em here. Any hot takes on this one? Or
I think if you were to talk to Parker Porter and Christopher Daukaus and ask them their take on the coronavirus situation, they would fucking love it. Because there's probably no other way that they're fighting in the UFC. Parker Porter was once upon a time, this is true story. Parker Porter was once upon a time a good-looking prospect who I liked. I don't remember him from the John Jones fight. He lost to John Jones, and Jones was like 2-0 at the time. Porter was like 2-0 as well. I don't remember from that fight, but like a year and a half later, he beat Lee Bean. 2010, Cody thought Lee Bean was going to be a pretty decent heavyweight. But CES won, by the way. Shout out to the CES promotion, one of the best East Coast promotions. Calvin Kattar, actually, once upon a time, CES veteran. Parker Porter looked okay. And then same thing, like not Vince Pichel where he wins a high-level fight and then disappears for a bit. He would just take long lapses of time where he disappears. He's not all that big for a heavyweight. If you look at him, he looks like a poor man's version of Sean Jordan. He's only 6 foot, but he cuts to 265. He is big, and it's all in his legs, man. This guy's got big, strong legs. But at only 6 foot, he's limited as a heavyweight. He needs to get in close. He needs to close the distance. He needs to hopefully tie you up, dirty box with you a little bit. But if that doesn't go his way, he's kind of fairly one-dimensional. He's now 35 years old. He's had long lulls off in his career. I don't know that you could ever trust him. Parker Porter should not be in the UFC. He should at least have to win a couple high-profile fights to get to the UFC. But a loss, it's a crazy time. We need to throw a fight quickly on the card. Parker Porter gets the call up. Christopher Daukaus is actually the older brother of Kyle Daukaus. You'll remember him. He fought in the UFC like 3 weeks ago.
Good grappler.
Good grappler. This guy doesn't look bad either. He's like 254.
Lost to Brendan Allen, but
Brandon Allen's good, man. I don't care what anybody
he hung
says.
with him.
He did, and he won the 3rd round, and he put it on him in the 3rd round. Well, at least he did his best to get the finish anyways. So, yeah, I liked what I saw to Daukaus. These guys are from Philadelphia. Again, both good grapplers, and both kind of them had decent cardio. Like his brother as well, Kyle.
Martinez BJJ, I believe is
Yeah,
the gym.
Daukaus' brother, Kyle, he's kind of a bigger guy too. That fight was 185, but he looked like a bigger guy. This boy, he's a big boy, man. 6'2", 255, but he moves well. He has good cardio. He seems super relaxed in there. Maybe a tad bit too relaxed. Maybe a tad bit too, I don't want to say tentative, just too patient. But he just takes his time. His record is a lot of fighting absolute nobodies. So it's hard to get a perfect gauge on him. How good is he? He's looked okay against absolute middling competition. And then 2 fights back against Azuna Eniyanwu. You guys remember from Contender Series.
Yep.
Guy's 37. Total banger. 37. He beats him in the 1st round. He's putting it on him in the 2nd round. He got him tired. He's got him hurt. And boom, he eats a big right hand, drops to the ground, follow-up ground and pound, puts him out. He's not all the way out, but it's like, oh, god damn, man. Bad way. Rebounds from this. Okay, he's 30. His younger brother Kyle's 27. Kyle's probably more the prospect. This guy's 30, not great. At heavyweight, 30, not bad. 255, that's good because Parker Porter's going to come in at 265 on the dot. So at least he's not giving up 20, 30 pounds. He's got better cardio. He's more mobile. He strikes better from the outside. And that's the one problem with Parker Porter. Looking at, I guess we're just going to have to look at his last fight as our best indicator, but against Dirle Broenstrup. I like Dirle Broenstrup. I honestly do. Problem is, he's 39 years old. He's 39 years old. He doesn't throw as much as he could. He's not as fast as he could. And he's kind of limited. He outstrikes him from the distance up until the third round when Parker Porter just fucking nails him and knocks him out. Mm-hmm. That's not likely to happen against Daukaus. I think Daukaus stays on the range, uses his height, uses his length, uses his reach, good cardio, chips away at him, takes us in later. Pat, hit me with what this fight is to go distance, or even like the 1/1.5, the 1/2.5. This screams heavyweight fight that gets sloppy and goes.
Fatty's gonna fatty. They're not fat, but you know.
Fight to
265 and 255. They're not fat, but they're big boys, right? We can agree on that.
Fight to go to the distance plus 240.
Plus 240. So that's more. I'm leaning more towards Pat Walsh versus Dan Kelley, where they both get tired. They both just go the distance. You remember that bet once upon a time. That's kind of what I'm more thinking in this fight. They've both shown finishes. They both do show finishes. They show finishes over low level guys. Now that they match up with each other, I feel like it gets at least a few rounds. If it doesn't go the distance, it gets over 1.5. It gets over 2. That's my lean here. As far as a straight up pick,
if it's just 1.5, it's even money over 1.5.
So there you go. That's actually my pick. Over 1.5 is even money. Christopher Daukaus is technically speaking slight underdog when we get to the PRP, and I'll say I got 3 underdogs. He'll be listed as an underdog, even though it's even money. But I think he should be the slight favorite, not the slight underdog. And for that reason, Daukaus is the pick. But fight to get over that 1.5, I think I'm keying in on that.
And then this one, this fight doesn't even have odds. It doesn't have a DraftKings price. It was added, I believe, today. Tony Kelley versus Kai Kamaka III. I believe at featherweight that they're fighting, or at least these guys are featherweights. Maybe they're fighting.
Yeah, I think it's 45.
Is that 45? Do you have any thoughts on that? If you don't, that's great. That's fine. There's not even odds, so it's hard to say what direction you're thinking.
I got added yesterday. Tony Kelley. How could you not like Tony Kelley? Primetime.
Okay.
He, once upon a time, was on MTV Caged. Matt Schnell was the most famous star of MTV Caged. God, I'd have to look what the year on that show is. Maybe 2008, 2009. It's about a bunch of kids from Minden, Louisiana, who look up to Dustin Poirier, because Poirier's from Lafayette, bigger town than Minden.
And who was the...
and he made it to the WEC. Tim Crater was his coach.
Tim Crater, that's their coach, yeah.
Gladiator MMA. Tim Crater's the coach, and it's like that's the aspiration is if we're good enough, we get out of Karate Mafia, we can go to Gladiator MMA, where Dustin Poirier was. Tim Crater fought in UFC. That's the dream. And they follow these 4 kids, and these kids are bottom up the barrel. This Wesley kid, he's 16 years old, 3-2 amateur record, just a banger. Just had a baby with this girl named Red. She's working at a strip club as like a waitress. He's trying to get his life together. Doesn't train, doesn't cut weight, sucks ass. This guy Daniel, he's a rich kid. Parents got money. Girlfriend died in a car accident. He wants to show everything. He's a big boy. Has something to prove. Just gets KO'd. This Matt Schnell kid, poor. Parents got problems. His mom's an alcoholic. His dad's got remarried with other kids. And he made it because he was so dedicated. And Tony Kelley. And wouldn't you know this Tony Kelley kid, not dedicated like Schnell, but a banger. This guy comes out there and he bangs. And he looked decent on the show. Then the show ends. And Schnell went for it, man. He went to Legacy in Texas. He ran a good run through there. Eventually gets signed to the Ultimate Fighter. Eventually makes it to the UFC. And now he's won fights in the UFC. He's not a prospect. He's not going to be in the top 10. But he's making money fighting. And isn't that the dream from some kid from Minden, Louisiana? Absolutely. Looking at Tony Kelley, he followed a similar trajectory, but it's the time off that's killed him. So likewise, he's 33 years old now. Making your debut in the UFC at 33, kind of a little bit older to making your UFC debut. If I told you the motherfucker was 5-1, he has 6 fights. He's 6 pro fights. He's 33 years old. Well, what happened? Here's what happened. And here's his problem. Pro debut in 2013, okay? Wins. First round knockout. Looks good over nobody. Beats Chris Pham, who ended up being a bum. Submits him in the second round, 2014. He beat Jordan Winsky, right? Jordan, I'm gonna Winsky. who's out of Dan Henderson's training facility out in Florida or in California, and he's 12-2.
Yeah.
2 losses, one of them to Tony Kelley. Then he beats Levi Moles on a split decision. Levi Moles is a protege of Johnny Bedford out of Texas. You'll be seeing him in the UFC very shortly. Mark my words on that. Beats him. Then he fights Kevin Aguilar for the Legacy FC title. Split decision. 5 rounds. 5 rounds. A fucking war, man. And he loses the decision.
So we're keeping our eyes tracked for an opener on this.
Then he takes.
How about this?
He
Cody,
takes 3 years.
What price would
Cody,
you
you
bet
set
Tony
the
Kelley?
line. You set the line on this. What do you think it's going to be?
Because they should
Well,
release it
here's
before
okay. So here's
this
so
show
here's
gets
so here's
released.
yeah. So I'll mark you a price right now. But here's what I'm getting at. Let's talk about it, then we'll mark the price. He loses to Kevin Aguilar in a split. Okay, 2016.
Yep.
He took 3 years off after that. Aguilar went on to go to the UFC. Tony Kelley took 3 years off. He came back last year and beat a fighter who was 2-5 with a first-round guillotine, and then took another year off. I have him on Facebook. He's training hard. He looks in good shape. But that's a long layoff.
line.
It's a long layoff. He's now fighting elite competition. He's got a win over Winsky and Lowles and Levi Moles. That's fucking no joke. And then his loss to Aguilar, it's a split in a 5-rounder, which was Legacy's fight of the year, by the way, because it's a fucking war. The guy's got some good tools, but he's 33. He's coming off a year-long layoff. He has not fought a legitimate fighter since Aguilar, which is 4 years ago. So that's all cause for concern. So now you look at K. Kamaka. K. Kamaka, okay. Geez, he's only 25. He's 8 years younger. Okay, we got that going. Guy can wrestle a little bit. Guy can strike a little bit. Oh, geez, he's on a 5-fight winning streak. He just beat prospect Michael Stack. Here's his problem. Guy doesn't throw, man. Just kind of stands there. Just stands there way too long. He doesn't have any power. To that extent, let's talk about that 5-fight winning streak. Rick James, by decision. The guy's actually named Rick fucking James. Pat, you can check that out. Hilarious. Who names their kid Rick James? Mauricio Diaz, by decision. Shojin Miki, by decision. Spencer Higa, by decision. Higa was 7-10, by the way. And then Michael Stack, by decision. Can't finish nothing. Doesn't throw enough. Doesn't throw shit. But just does a little more than you. Wins a decision. Kelley, shit-eating wild man.
The
At 33
Louisiana guys just all seem to be shit-eating wild.
You know what? That's a fair point. And he never thought. I got him on Facebook. It seems like he's always training for something. Nothing ever materializes. Seems like he's been told, win a couple fights, maybe you can get to the UFC. My impression, it's not a greasy theory, because I think it's probably a logical theory. My impression is this is a Contender Series fight. Kai Kamaka was actually signed to fight a Contender Series. And Tony Kelley wasn't signed at all. But it's 10 fights. And you know what? We're still 3 days out from the event.
Yeah,
Let's just throw a little bit on the undercard.
We're in Vegas. There happens to be COVID-19 being still a massive nuisance in the United States.
Every week something falls off.
I mean, Ayan Kutalaba versus Ankalaev was supposed to be on this card.
Something will probably fall off from this.
And Kutalaba obviously got COVID.
Oh, yeah.
And he's out.
God damn, that would have been. Actually, you know what? Ankalaev was a bad price. I had him. But I didn't want to bet him at like, what, 450? It was a bad price.
It was getting a little bit out of
Yeah,
control.
that was not good.
Set a line.
Set a line on this. I'm going to set the line as K. Kamaka 145, minus 145. And I'm going to say the value side would be Tony Kelley. And the
So you think
DK,
Kelley
I don't know if they'll give you
Kelley
DK.
will be a
but-
dog when it opens.
Yeah,
up,
I think so. Listen, dude, he's fought one legitimate guy in 4 years.
Yeah.
That guy he lost to, right? And that guy hasn't really particularly done great in the UFC. Fought
Hopefully
decent
we
guys.
get some dog price on Tony Kelley.
Yeah, whereas Kamaka's on a 5-fight winning streak. He's in his last 3 fights,
Yep.
2-0 in Bellator, 1-0 in LFA. He's fighting in good organizations, against good guys, against a guy that has had no relevant fights in the last 4 years. Of course, Kai Kamaka is the favorite. But Kelley's a wild dog, and I think that he'll come in as a dog price, and I think he'll give you a good effort as a dog. And at 33, thinking I've got 6 pro fights, I've fought once in the last 4 years against a 2-5 opponent. I'm not making the UFC. Then COVID happens. Now he gets his chance. You don't tell me this guy's going to fucking go for it. Remember Jesse Ronson? Jesse Ronson, one thing, and I bet against him. My bad. One thing about him is he was so bummed out about, Jesus, finally got my shot in the UFC. I want my shot in the UFC. If I ever get my shot in the UFC again, I'm going to go for it. Got a shot in the UFC again? Went for it. Got that first round knockout. You back a dog into a corner, he's a dangerous dog. That's
All
how
right.
Kelley is.
Let's
So-
rip through DraftKings really fast.
Just as a fact check here, Caged was January 2012, Cody.
2012. Well, that makes sense. That would have been my, first year at Fight Network, maybe. second year at Fight Network.
Let's rip through the DraftKings really quick here.
Yeah, let's rip
Just
through it.
ask my.
I mean, I don't.
Can I just ask my questions?
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
Yeah,
Go
that's
for it.
like, just ask the questions. That's all we're gonna do for the
Yeah.
segment.
Quickest finish on the card. Who are we looking at least for a quick finish?
I mean, Jairzinho Rozenstruik is live to be the first finish. He hits really hard. JDS has been compromised. We're picking JDS though, so
I'm gonna go personally with if you're
Herbert
taking
Burns, I guess.
yeah, it'd be the Burns Pineda fight. I mean,
Burns by submission.
Burns has
round
been
one.
dicing better guys in this in the first round, and Benya Pineda is or kill or be killed type guy. Again, 35, coming back to the UFC, he'll be in a similar spot to Tony Kelley. Just go for it, man.
So yeah, Herbert Burns is the answer for that.
All right, most takedowns on this card.
I think you go TJ Brown.
Marab. Marab every
okay,
week gets
yeah,
more.
fair.
Every time
Yeah,
Marab
yeah.
fights, he gets like 7-8 takedowns.
Yeah.
Marab Dvalishvili.
He's right. I would say that Marab is the most takedowns. TJ Brown would be that second choice.
Most significant strikes for a fight that actually lasts.
Stipe Miocic.
Yeah.
If we get into the deeper, I mean, look at the amount of points that both of those guys. I think Daniel Cormier scored like 85, 90 points in that loss, in that fourth round loss. The boys were throwing, and they were throwing ferociously. Both of them can get over 100. That's an interesting strategy this week. If you think that fight's going to go similarly to the last one, you think it's going to go deep, you can actually play both of the guys in the main event.
Listen, the last time around, Cormier landed 181 significant strikes according to Fight Metric versus 123 for Stipe. Like, they're both just slinging. Could they take those same punches now? I don't know. But if they do, stacking is definitely a viable option. And as far as that goes, I think,
And they're both, it's
I think
right
one
in
of
the
them-
mid range, 82, 80.
Yeah.
Like that helps your roster construction.
I honestly
significantly.
don't think any other fighter on the card lands over 100 significant strikes, and both of these guys have the capability of getting over 100. Sean O'Malley, I would like to say could, but he's not really a volume guy. I
I'm
think his
worried
career
about
best's 80, so I
I'm
don't
worried
think he'll get
about
100.
O'Malley with Marlon Vera just being cast iron. That's why 9,200. It's hard to pay up there. I want a first round finish from you, Sean, if I'm going to play you at 9,200. And if Vera is durable, which he has been over the course of his career,
Yeah, he's taking
then
good punches, man.
if we're getting an O'Malley decision, I could 100. And he doesn't have any sort of he's not going to go out there and wrestle. I don't believe with Marlon Vera unless he's got some extra tricks that we haven't seen yet. I just think 92, it's going to be hard for him to get to that number if this fight goes to decision.
Daniel Cormier scored 101 points.
Yeah, no. I
been a
was looking it
loss.
up. They both crushed. The winning lineup last time these guys fought had both of the guys in the main event.
Yeah, right.
In GPPs.
Yeah.
But before you guys get to the PRP, I circled some dogs when you guys were talking about like DraftKings dogs.
Mm-hmm.
The best value on the card, like odds wise, seems to be Danny Chavez. He's $7,400 and he's plus 125.
Yeah, or Daukaus, who's 77. But you think that fight's going to go to decision. So maybe, Chavez, if we think this is a high volume, he's fighting TJ Brown, who's super high volume. 7,400 plus 125. That's an easy dog play.
And like the only other one
You
that
may
I had
not even
circled
need
was,
it with
like,
a-
I had Daukaus and Chavez as the two dogs,
Yeah.
or DeSantos at 78. But
I
like,
think Chavez is the dog you're looking for as far as DraftKings goes. $7,400, very high upside that he could very well knock out TJ Brown. Absolutely. In comparison to the underdogs on there, Daniel Pineda for 7,300, but Herbert Burns is just a little too durable. Ashley Yoder at 7,600, she's not a high score. Jim Miller at 83, at Vince Pichel at 7,900.
I mean, if Jim
I
gets a
have my
first
look
round
on that.
finish,
I have my
he's-
look on that.
You could
John
do it.
Dodson at 75 and Marlon Vera at 7,000. Those are the next two that look at you, actually have a good play. The only thing is Dodson, Marab's never been knocked out, right? So if he does squeak this decision out, and he could, it won't be high scoring. As far as Marlon Vera goes, 7,000, that's live. That's live. You don't know what Sean O'Malley's going to look like in the second or third round, at least not decisively. Probably looks good. I think he looks good. I think his cardio checks out. I think he'd be okay. But you remember the Sukumantath fight? Yeah, you do, because you mentioned it. Bro, fuck. You telling me Marlon Vera don't just back away and win that? It could happen. It could happen. Vera will give a good account of himself for 7,000.
So if you look at the top, and you have like these top four guys. So with the way you just kind of said it, like either Chavez or maybe Pineda. If you built two lineups, you could essentially just have the same lineup, but have the two favorites in the opposite lineup. So you could take Burns in one and Chavez in the other, and then easily swap the prices. Take Brown and take Pineda. Like that'd probably be. But who's the top end guy to go with?
Oh, okay, so that's a very good point. I'm glad you brought up. So as far as the top end plays go, I'm not super confident with it because Sean O'Malley at 9,200. Geez, we just talked about a decision, so maybe he doesn't quite get the 9,200. Merab Dvalishvili at 87. I like that. I do like that. It's not quite 9,000. He could get those takedowns that we want him to get.
Yeah, he averages like almost 100,
Potentially
107
a little bit
points.
dicey. But I don't like Liviana Souza, and she's 8,600. Herbert Burns, he's probably going to end up on the optimal when he gets that first round finish. But it's a little bit dicey. I think he's worth having a look at. But Jandiroba at 9,000 and TJ Brown at 88, not good price tags on both. I'd be interested in seeing the ownership on them. I feel higher ownership is going to be Merab. I'd like to say probably Sean O'Malley. DC and Cormier are going to have tons of exposure on them. Burns is going to be very high owned. But Jandiroba is expensive.
You think Burns is going to be high owned? I think he's going to
so.
slip under the radar a bit.
No. Because just like you opened up the show today when you were just like, holy crap, Pineda's back. Holy fuck. It's like, damn, Daniel Pineda's back. And he's taking on Herbert Burns, who is the brother of Gilbert Burns, man. And, dude, finished his last two guys in the first round. One of them by knockout, one of them by submission. He can do it all. He can do it all.
Yeah.
They're getting better every day. Paul, you said so yourself. These are improving brothers. I think there's a lot to like about Herbert Burns. He's got very high upside.
A bunch on the table?
You're probably going to end up putting a bunch on the table, yeah. I think you probably
And we
will.
didn't even mention my boy Vince.
Vince is actually a very good price at 7,900. Very good
I mean,
price.
but I think Vince is going to be very... Vince, I'm more happy to bet him, but because he's minus 125 favorite now and he's 79, like he's going to be probably too chalky. And
Yes,
if this fight
yeah.
goes 3
Well,
rounds, maybe he doesn't get to that number. He's been a
Fair.
pretty good DraftKings scorer historically when he wins, though.
and Jim Miller can take a hell of a punch. But I'll give one thing about Vince Pichel. He's got underrated power. A lot of the time he's close distance with you, throwing you around. You don't see it. But you remember the Damian Brown fight? It was like, oh my God. Damian Brown can take a punch. Vince Pichel's a very, very strong guy. And yeah, because he's never really trained at an optimal level, quarantine times works well within his boundaries, whereas Jim Miller runs his own gym. Maybe it's a little bit different. You don't know. DraftKings is going to be tough this week. Very tough on DraftKings. As far as the
Lot of
money
different
line
ways you can
side.
go.
Yeah, as far as the money line side, I think you end up with 4, 5, 6 plays you feel okay with. But because you have such a good week last week, one, come on, we're not going 11-0 this week. We're going 11-0 this week. But, don't expect it anyways. But more importantly than that, we got money. We made money. Let's not rush to give it back. Let's make a couple of safe parlays. Let's go with those props that we like. But let's not rush to just cram it and be like, fuck it, man. Felice Herrig got a shot 260. It's like, let's just enjoy this card. It's a nice card. It's a fun card. I think we're going to make money on this card.
And we talked about there's a
But I
lot
don't
of
wanna
live,
force- I don't
good
wanna
live
force
spots along the way. So wait for
Excellent
more information. There's gonna
Live spots is the way to bet, man. You know how it is. That's why I can't tell you all the best plays, because the best plays often happen when you're like,
in the live market.
oh, he's so tired. He just won the last round,
like
but he's
my-
about to topple over. And I'm looking at the live line.
I hit a 8-1 Masaranduba a few weeks ago.
Weidman last week, plus 200. Plus 200 going into the third.
No.
It's like, has Omari Akhmedov ever won a second round? Yes, he has. Twice in 10 fights.
I was
tweeted
already
that.
so invested at that point. I had another parlay
Nervous.
that wasn't part of your thing. It was like a 7-legger that
yeah.
I sent you the ticket for that one.
Yeah.
I already was so invested in why I couldn't put anything. I wasn't even looking at the live market because I was like, Jesus Christ, Chris, like get your shit together.
So I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, oh my God, I'm screwed. And then the way the second round ends is Chris gets back up and he moves forward. And that was the indicator that I was like, oh. And then the third round's right about to start. And I don't know why this is. Maybe it's world class. Maybe it's top end guys. I don't know. But that 1 minute break made a hell of a difference. Dude.
did.
He came out and he shot.
He didn't
takedowns
exactly
right away.
punch a hole in his chest, but
Okay, so he's mounted. I'm watching it with my
But
dad.
he-
My dad's like,
that
my dad's
was a
like,
veteran
my dad's like,
savvy way to
he's
end
got
the
to,
fight.
he's got to hit him a little. I was like, shut the fuck up! What are you talking
take
about?
him down, hold him,
You're right,
cover
right.
your head.
My dad's like, man, he's got to hit him a little. I was like, it's mount. No ref in their right mind stands it up for mount, unless you're Bobby Lashley, Chad Griggs,
Kimbo
and
Slice versus Dada 5000.
Yeah, Bobby Lashley, Chad Griggs, Kimbo Slice, Dada 5000. Outside of that, who the fuck stands it
Well,
up for
I
mount?
mean, if you're in mount and you're going,
Which is both of those times, yeah. Want to know something funny? Bobby Lashley went to hospital for dehydration and like his kidney shut down.
you mean Data 5000?
No, Bobby.
Oh,
Chad
Bobby.
Griggs. Remember Chad
Because
Griggs?
no, Data 5000
And
also
Dada
had
did
like he almost
too.
died that night.
And Kimbo died like 6 months later.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is the guys that have been stood up from Mount have died or had a near-death experience short time after.
Yeah, they're so excited.
Don't get stood up for a mount.
All right. Before
And gladly, Weidman got the win. Thank you.
let's hit him with the PRP before we get out of here.
Okay, so we're going to go with Stipe Miocic, dog number 1. Sean O'Malley, Junior Dos Santos, dog number 2. Merab Dvalishvili, Vince Pichel, Livian Souza. Fuck, I don't love that.
Pass.
Yeah, could be. Burns, even though, again, don't love it. And it should be a pass. And then we're going to take... I'm going to take Jandiroba, but it should be a pass. TJ Brown, Daukaus' dog number is at 3 or 4. And then Kelley. Kelley's going to be the dog. And I'll have him as well.
That is it for us this week. Hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks to producer Pat Mayo for all his props and keeping us on track for the most part. Thanks to the goat, Bleat. I think that's the noise that they make. That's what Pat tells me. His kid,
No,
his kid
no
likes
way.
goats. Yeah.
Goats don't they go,
No, I
They
think that's
kind
like-
of, but sheep also
That was
make
good.
very similar noise.
Oh,
My
that's a
kid has
sheep,
these toys.
maybe.
It's like, what does a goat say? It's like, bleed.
Bleat,
What was the first one you said? The first thing you said was like,
bleat.
bleep.
I didn't sell it enough.
It was a no sell. You
Thank
no
you
sell,
to-
son of a bitch.
I mean, the whole
Okay, you
the
are
whole
an excellent sell,
The whole
Paul.
beginning of the show was completely a sell job here. I didn't even have to do a shoe.
This actually got me in the zone, so I appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks to the GOAT, Cody Saftic, as always, dropping a bunch of knowledge on us. For Pat and Cody, I'm Paul saying goodbye and good luck.
That Mayo experience. Experience.